It's Carnevale time in Venice. For centuries, Venetians have marked the lead up to Lent in spectacular style. Nowadays, it's a celebration drawing crowds from all over the world. But behind the flamboyant masks, there's a sad truth. Venice is dying. There are no tourists here. These are the real Venetians, and they're fighting hard to reclaim their city. There are only about 53,000 true Venetians now living in Venice. Over the year, 500 times as many tourists will come and go. Nicola Iosardi, a proud Venetian born and bred, runs a community housing group dedicated to keeping Venetians in their homes.
Ci danno tutti per spacciati e per morti, ma crediamo che in questa città ci siano un sacco di singolarità che possono dire ancora loro per cambiare il sistema, anche se non è molto facile perché la città ha preso una deriva completamente pro turismo e contro il residente, diciamo.
In the last 15 years, the number of beds offered privately to tourists, aside from registered accommodation, has grown more than fivefold. That's pushed rental prices up, and many residents just can't afford to stay. Venetians from all walks of life are being affected, but particularly the middle classes. They don't qualify for state help, and on average, half their salary goes on rent. Despite the rental squeeze, thousands of council-owned apartments have been left empty for years. These are the ones Nicola and his group target for occupation. We have to be careful because in recent months there's been a police crackdown on intruders.
All right. It's very dark,
Yeah.
no electricity, but this is one of the ones that's empty that you want to occupy.
Yeah.
Sometimes the apartments are deliberately vandalised by the authorities to deter squatters, but Nicola's team renovates them and helps families move in on peppercorn rents.
This is more or less it's 75 square meters. So he was living an old woman, but now this apartment is ready even for a family for 2 or 3 kids.
Yeah.
So it's empty more or less since 2 years.
Il cittadino a Venezia è visto come un pericolo per i padroni di casa, perché i padroni di casa preferiscono monetizzare e quindi ricavare molto di più dal turista, perché il turista in una settimana può spendere quello che un cittadino può spendere in un mese.
Long-term residents of Venice say they're being thrown out of their apartments, which are then rented to tourists through accommodation website Airbnb. It's thought there are now almost 8,000 Airbnb properties in the small historic centre of the city.
Tra le altre cose da registrare è che Venezia credo sia ai primi 3 posti per appartamenti di Airbnb in tutta Italia. Diciamo che la lotta a Airbnb è molto difficile. Ogni tanto porto l'esempio che è come cercare di contrastare la Coca-Cola, no?
Nicola and his group have helped 150 Venetians to find homes, but there's always the threat of eviction.
Okay. What does this say?
Oh, sorry, I don't really. We don't move from here because we are Venice and we love there. So we love her.
We
so
love Venice.
Yeah, we love Venice. Hi Chiara, hi Davide.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.
È arrivato qualcuno?
Sì, è arrivato prima, abbastanza presto stamattina.
Davide and Chiara have squatted here for 8 years with their 8-year-old daughter, and now they've been served an eviction notice.
Sì, ci hanno dato un rinvio a settembre,
A settembre.
il 10 di settembre.
È
Quindi
stato molto meglio,
bene.
l'ultimo era dopo
6
2
mesi,
mesi.
dai, almeno
6
abbiamo
mesi.
tempo
Sì, un po' tranquilli.
Sì.
Di stare un po' più tranquilli, dai,
The
organizzati.
couple applied for public housing when Chiara found out she was pregnant.
Perché io avevo un lavoro precario e lei comunque era a casa, quindi non avevamo delle entrate economiche che ci potessero permettere di trovare casa a Venezia, anche perché gli affitti a Venezia sono molto molto alti e i proprietari di casa, delle case, poi tra l'altro non fanno dei contratti a lungo termine, quindi è anche difficile trovare una casa per poi viverci per, non lo so, 4, 8 anni, 10 anni, insomma è un po' complicato.
Now they're in a precarious situation.
Non è facile perché comunque vivere in una casa occupata comporta anche dei rischi, quando ci sono le giornate, quando abbiamo lo sfratto. Noi non possiamo sapere se arrivano con la forza pubblica, con la polizia a sgomberarci, quindi è sempre un vivere un po' sempre in allerta.
Do you think eventually you'll have to leave Venice?
Questo non lo sappiamo, però è chiaro che ci troviamo a doverci pensare. Poi magari non accade, però.
In a pharmacy nearby, a clock records the loss of residents. Locals say on current trends, they'll all be gone in the next 50 years. Meanwhile, the tourists keep coming. The best estimates available put the annual number of visitors to Venice between 25 and 30 million. Many are day trippers, known as eat and run visitors, who spend little but swell the crowds and put more pressure on the infrastructure. Europeans and Americans still top the visitor lists, but Chinese are catching up fast. So far, less than 10% of Chinese have passports, but that's set to increase dramatically.
So this is quite incredible watching it. It's coach after coach with masses of people rolling off. They're going to spend a few hours here and then they're going to roll straight back on again. It's just incredible to watch it. And this isn't even peak season.
Do you speak English? ABC Australia. We're from Australia.
I'm so sorry. I must go to the Donggaedo to buy the trees. I'm so sorry.
Where's your group from?
China.
From China. And how long are they here in Venice?
We'll be stay here half a day.
Just for half a day?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really quick.
Yes.
And so what do they hope to see? Why have they come here to Venice? Why Venice?
You know nowadays is a Chinese New Year, so much people to come here for Venice.
Yes. So what will they do? What will they see?
Yeah, we will get the gondola and small boat in the riverside inside.
So you're only here for what, 5 hours or?
I'm so sorry, just 3 hours.
Just 3 hours? Wow. Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Tourism here is big business. Visitors spend about $9 billion a year, And a good portion of that goes on cheap, mass-produced souvenirs. Marilisa Dahl Carson is a master mask maker. Her craft is centuries old, but it's gradually being lost. In the last 40 years, Venice has lost more than half of its craftsmen and women.
And the people doesn't understand that. When they see a big mask and we say the price, ooh, too much. They don't understand that for do something like that, there is hour, weeks or month, sometime.
Marilisa's been making her art for over 30 years, but isn't sure she can hang on for much longer.
It's difficult to leave this, that is it's me. And I want to keep it strong, but it's very, very difficult to stay alive. Venetians
don't want to stop people coming to their city, but they do want more control over how many visitors come and how they arrive. Thank you. Okay, well, this is the way to travel.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Venetian's means of transport.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful. I mean, you can see why so many millions of people want to come here.
The magic of Venice is the balancing between water and stone.
Venetian Tommaso Cacciari is a founding member of the anti-cruise ship movement. No grandi navi, or no big ships.
These enormous ships come inside the Venice Lagoon from there. Yes. They cross all the city.
Last year alone, 594 cruise ships sailed right into the Venice Lagoon over a 6-month period. Now Tommaso and his fellow campaigners want them to stop.
If you think that the tallest house in Venice are from Jewish ghetto, and they are tall 16 or 17 meters.
Yes.
Basic cruise ship that comes in here is 65 meters.
Right.
So they are about 6 times higher
than
the tallest house of Venice. When you see the pictures, you think at a joke, you know, you think at a mistake, a scale mistake. This is San Giorgio Island.
Okay.
Tommaso is taking me to the island of San Giorgio Maggiore, just across the lagoon from St Mark's Square, to show me the damage he claims cruise ships cause.
And so right here where we are now is the place where the movement of the water caused by big ships is maximum.
According to Tommaso, the currents created by the passing ships are destroying these centuries-old paving stones.
Here, this part of the island is just slipping into the water and eaten from beneath. You can see it's going away from between the stones. They are trying to do this kind of useless, horrible thing.
They put in concrete.
Put in some concrete. Concrete is not a Venetian material.
It's not a solution.
Nothing in Venice is made by concrete. This is totally useless.
So how does it make you feel when you sort of come down here and you see these cruise ships docked here? I mean, inside.
Very angry, because this is a big damage for our health, our city, our natural city, and our built city. Because Venice is so beautiful because it's the city on the sea.
In protest, locals have taken to their boats to vent their frustrations. There's debate over whether the cruise ships cause subsidence, but there's no dispute over the pollution they create. Per day, one cruise ship emits as many air pollutants as 1 million cars. Tommaso Cacciari and many fellow Venetians don't see the benefits.
cruise ships are not giving money to the city, are not giving money to the workers, to bars, to taxi drivers, there is nothing about this. Cruise ships is keeping the money concentrated in very few hands, and these few hands are very powerful. Some politicians are very tied with these interests. They are not very good politicians.
The cruise ships must pay to enter and more, but it's believed the bulk of that money goes to the national government and private interests, not to Venice. There's not much incentive for Rome to change anything. As Paola Mar, Venice's tourism chief, tried to explain.
Is it right to presume that despite all the talk, the cruise ships will continue to dock exactly where they've been docking in recent years? Nothing is going to change?
No, veramente non è così. Noi abbiamo fatto una proposta al governo nel comitatone ancora l'anno scorso, 2 anni fa ormai, e siamo guarda, credo che oggi si siano pronunciati, ma io non ho avuto tempo di...
You need Rome to agree with your view, do you, on that?
Sì, no, è il governo che decide questo. Noi non possiamo scegliere cosa fare. Noi la nostra proposta come comune l'abbiamo portata a Roma e il governo deve decidere.
Each year, the politicians in Rome debate the merits of diverting cruise ships away from the city centre. But so far, words have not translated into action. The arguments over lack of housing, tourism and cruise ships could all soon be academic. In the long run, the tourists pose less of a threat to Venice than the very thing they've come to see: water. As you weave your way through the canals towards the lagoon, there are reminders everywhere that this city, built across 118 islands, is at constant risk of going under.
In centimeter, it is 30 centimeters essentially.
15 centimeters.
15 due to the sinking and 15 due to the global sea level rise.
Engineer and scientist Giovanni Cecchine has been documenting the floodwater changes for 30 years.
Now, this is an angel. Just describe to me how this has changed over time.
The green line, that is the main high tide, it is well above the mouth of the Angel. So you have to consider 1 foot of elevation of the main high tide with relation to the main sea level. And so everything has to be shifted 40 centimeters below. So the Angel is a kind of a symbol, icon of the danger of sea level rise.
The danger for Venice.
Yes. And the green line tells you...
And the Angel doesn't look happy.
Not at all.
No.
It's looking up, so it doesn't trust the humans. It's more in favor of the God, the intervention of God.
Yes, yes.
Giovanni is taking me to look at the long-awaited $9 billion solution to Venice's flooding problem. He helped design it. It's known as MOSE.
MOSE is a mobile storm surge barrier. So this means when not in use, it will disappear. But when there is a storm surge coming and the flooding starts over 110 centimeters, meaning above the San Marco Square elevation, essentially, the barrier can be elevated and close the sea out of the lagoon.
Many Venetians are sceptical. Construction began 15 years ago, and it was due to open in 2011, but the system is still not operational. project's been dogged by one of Italy's biggest corruption scandals. In 2014, 35 people, including the former mayor of Venice, were arrested for embezzling $30 million of public funds.
Everybody was benefiting from the extra cost. So there was nobody that was saying, oh no, maybe we cannot do that because it's expensive, let's choose another solution that is good but not so expensive. In a corrupted situation as it was, the longer the better, the more expensive the better.
Some environmentalists say the barrier will pollute the lagoon by blocking water flows. But without the Mose system, the outlook for this floating city is grim.
Biggest environmental challenge facing Venice now is actually the rising sea levels.
We are under the threat of sea level rise, and Venice will be completely transformed. Its sea level will be more than 2 feet, more than 60 centimeters.
That's the worst case scenario. What would it mean?
The scenario is to move with boat and not to use the walking path anymore, and abandon the ground floor. I think it will take 50 years.
50 years, and then how long would it take for the destruction of those buildings because their bottom level is now underwater? How many years
I think
after that?
in another 30 years, very rapidly, will be deteriorated if we do nothing.
So Venice could be destroyed within 80 years?
Yes, yes.
That's incredible.
Will be a ghost town in case of a worst case scenario. No?
And the world should care about that?
Yes, yes. And Venice is an iconic city of living on the water, so it's not only of national importance, it's of international importance.
Es en partida tres que con case garotas a la pompa de la bicicletta. E mezzo Tony la gaggiusta, 4 franchi se gaccia pa.
For now, life in Venice goes on. A series of serenades and gondola rides. Few visitors are aware of the threats to the city.
Buongiorno. Buongiorno. Oh, viva Venezia. Viva. E se moriva in Maricatea.
Later this year, the UN will decide whether to put Venice on the World Heritage Endangered List, a move that would reflect poorly on the city authorities and its current mayor, Luigi Brugnaro.
Come rispetto molto il ruolo dell'UNESCO, rispetto molto perché è nel nostro interesse continuare a poterci misurare con i rapporti internazionali, è nell'interesse di Venezia, dei veneziani e credo di tutti quelli che amano la città.
He's just got the go-ahead for a new tax, making Venice one of the only cities in the world to charge tourists an entry fee.
Just explain the tax for me. What is it going to...
tax.
Not a tax.
Contribution. Contribution of accesso.
Explain. Okay, you don't like to call it a tax, I understand. What do you prefer to call it, and what?
No, it's the Lex that the right contribution. No, mine. It's the Lex of the right contribution. Ma lo faccio proprio perché penso che questo.
The new charge is meant to be in place within months. No one seems to know how it will be collected. The mayor guarantees full transparency.
Della trasparenza abbiamo fatto un nostro vanto e anche questo contributo di accesso sarà completamente trasparente, sarà assolutamente visibile non solo localmente ma a livello internazionale sul sito del comune ovviamente, dove dichiareremo quanto incasseremo e dove verranno investiti questi soldi.
Venice, the floating city, La Serenissima, city of bridges, has thrived for nearly 2 millennia. But without drastic action, the city we know now might not survive this century. making its glam carnival just a pantomime with no real Venetians left to play.
We need to have a vision of our future. If we don't have, the other will impose their vision on us, and we will adapt with short-term advantages, getting money out of the tourism, but without any long-term plan.
The problem is that we are destroying cities. We are making the wrong choices or no choice, that it's like making a wrong choice, and we are choosing to kill it for money, for a little bit of money now, without thinking of what will happen tomorrow.
Noi resistiamo e anche se il turismo aumenta bisogna dare la possibilità ai veneziani di vivere la propria città. Però non è assolutamente vero che moriremo, assolutamente.
Thank you.